What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the NFC North Roundtable. The very first episode. I am so excited. On behalf of Roundtable Sports, this is a huge opportunity. This is the beginning of something special, the first official expansion of Roundtable Sports Company, and introducing to you all the NFC North Roundtable. First up, the division leaders with the 6-2 record on top of the world right now. Ladies and gentlemen, dose of Dion. What up, Dion?
You know what?
You good?
That is outstanding. No, that's outstanding. TD, I wasn't expecting that from you. I'm going to be honest, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate the love. Yes, we are on top of the world. We're buying at the trade deadline. Okay, when's the last time we've done that? It's been a while. So everything's great right now, man. We're having a good time. We're coasting into this bye week, feeling real good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, we're happy to have you, Dion, but don't get too comfortable because you know who's up next? The guys that are right on your trail. They're not backing down. They're coming for that number one spot. Yours truly, the Minnesota Vikings. Lepago!
Hell yeah. Skull! Hell yeah. Vikings, you know, it's a weird time to be a Viking fan. We just won at Lambeau. It's something we always want to do, but we also just lost our quarterback. We won 3 in a row. Defense is playing good, but it's like mixed emotions. You know, you're happy, but you also lose your quarterback, so it sucks.
Woo! Well, listen, I'm happy to have you here, Lupagos, because the Minnesota Vikings are very well still in this thing at 500, making a run right now. But guess what? We got a team coming up next that's only one more loss than you all, so you're not even out of the clear. Shout out to Basaraki with the Green Bay Packers!
Appreciate you having me on. Yeah, it's a weird year for the Green Bay Packers, but as you said it best. Even though we're not doing too hot, we're still only one game behind the Minnesota Vikings. You know, last week was not a good game. By any stretch, but I appreciate you having me on here.
It was amazing.
I know, right? I figured the one time that we finally get together in NFC North table is when the Packers are bad. It's like, of course.
Oh, wow. But it's all right. Y'all not out of it. You know, have some faith. We're going to talk about some of that in a little bit. But listen, last but not least, all the way from Chicago, the orange, the brown, and maybe a little white. Hey, the Chicago Bears, just another year with Nick representing the 2-6 Chicago Bears. Hey, they just made a move that may bring them to the top.
Hey, you know what? You could not have introduced someone at 2-6 with any more hype. That's all I got to say. This team, I don't know, man. There are mixed emotions. It's an absolute mess sometimes, especially at Hallis Hall today. But as I say every single week, the Bears are about to go on a 10-game winning streak. So we're not out of this yet. I know Dose of Dion knows what I'm talking about last year when he was 1-7 at one point. So I'm just saying we're not done yet. But thanks for having me on, guys. I'm pumped about it.
Man, I'm excited about all four of you guys being here. This is the beginning of something special. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste your time. We're going to dive right in. But before we do, listen up, chat. Let us know in the chat who you represent. The poll will be coming up soon. Vote on what team you are representing here today for the NFC North Roundtable. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. Let's start out with the Chicago Bears just coming off of a loss to the Chargers. Talk to us. What happened, man?
So you're acting like it's a shock coming off a loss to the Chargers, but that's all. I mean, yeah, I can rip on the Bears just as much as the next guy, but I'm going to be frank. The game, it might have been 30-13, but I saw a lot of positives out of it, in my personal opinion. You know, the defense continues to somewhat look better week in and week out. They had a nice second half adjustment. But when you lose your starting quarterback and you have a second string guy in that's undrafted from D2, you know, your expectations are super duper low. And for him to go out and throw 200 plus and have wide receivers like Velus Jones Jr., who falls every single time a ball is put in his direction and drops everything, Darnell Mooney, things off his fingertips. It was a tough loss, but, you know, the expectation was low because it was prime time and it was the Bears. And, you know, I'm happy with the outcome that what happened because it showed what Chicago still needs. And that's what impacted the trade deadline, bringing in Montez Sweat. So I'm pretty pumped about it. a loss is okay with me because my draft pick still looks pretty damn good.
Nice. All right. What's your thoughts about that game, Basaraki?
What, the Chicago game?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually put together a prop bet, and it was Tyson Bagent throwing an interception, and I was like, "It's a Chicago Bears quarterback. He's going to throw an interception, right?" And he did. Because I think just another year, you were saying Bagent. You're all the way high on Bagent for the rest of the year.
Bagent, and yes,
Bagent,
I am.
Okay, Bagent. Sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Yours is an easy last name because Pete Love. Ooh, super tough.
Yeah, not a lot of people love him though. I'll say that. But yeah, I mean, Chicago still at the bottom, man. It's crazy. The Packers, aren't doing too hot, but we're still one game out of second place in NFC North. It kind of just shows a testament how bad these three teams are. Do have to give a shout out to Dosa Dion. You got to talk your crap being up there, man.
I will.
Hey, what's your thoughts on it, Leopard Ghost?
Yeah, I mean, Bears. I tell you what, I mean, you watch this team, and there's so much lack of weapons here. You got Tyson Bagent, undrafted rookie quarterback. I actually thought they'd be a little bit better. They smoked the Raiders. They're going against the Chargers. Kind of looked like I thought they would. Because we played them a couple weeks ago. It's just not a really good football team right now.
Tough, man. Dion, being at the top of the division, how do you look? Are you looking down on the Bears, or you see something promising?
Man, I'll say this: Lux was lost for words there. We all heard it. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know where to go. He was trying to find something positive. But honestly, no. I understand it because, like Nick said, last season we were in that 1-6 spot and we got out of that spot. I don't have as much optimism with the Bears, of course, as a Lions fan looking from the outside in. And I think the thing that was to me disappointing. I expected the Chargers to win that game because I thought they could put up points. It was more so, the interception didn't look great. It's just the inability to put up points in that game. And I understand Tyson Bagent, like they're trying to figure that out with that quarterback stepping in there. It felt like the week before when they actually when they won, they beat the Raiders. They were able to play on schedule. He was able to do things outside the pocket, and he looked comfortable. So we'll see how that looks as it goes on. But I don't know. It's hard for me right now. I think the upside for them is more the structure that they have built for the future rather than some of the pieces that I feel like they have right now.
Structure for the pieces, not right now. All right. Well, listen, Chicago Bears, hopefully next week you can get a win with the Saints. We'll see. We'll talk about that one later in the show. Let's move forward, though, and let's get into this Detroit Lions and Raiders game. The Detroit Lions coming off of a victory 26-14 versus the Raiders. I want to start with Nick again. What was your thoughts watching that game?
Well, I was super pumped because Gibbs was on my my fantasy team, and it was the 1 week I started him. So massive game because I knew the Raiders. I mean, the Bears beat the Raiders to start things off. So that's I don't know what that kind of says to things, but I was pumped about it because honestly, Detroit has been down bad way longer than the Bears have, and I feel for everybody right now that's in Detroit, and it's exciting because you go out. You get a big game in prime time. You win that game. You're representing the North because I think we can all agree the North is kind of in shambles right now. It's unfortunately a crapshoot across the board with teams. Like everyone's good in their own respectful ways, but the Lions are holding it at the top for us, making us look good, especially in prime time. They have also, I see your hat over there, Dosa Dion, like with grit. And Dan Campbell is the man. Like that is a head coach that you want to have. And the fact that he was able to turn this thing around, get players behind him. You watch Hard Knocks last year, and that win against the Raiders just showed absolute grit. And I really like what the Lions are doing. I'm rooting for them because if we don't make the playoffs, the Lions are definitely my second NFC North favorite team, and they're going to do some damage if they keep going on. They're heating up right now, and I'd be scared of anyone that's facing the Lions, and I know I'm facing the Lions pretty damn soon, and I'm not looking forward to it. Usually I do, but I'm not looking forward to it this year.
So you just said if the Bears make the playoffs, do you actually think they can?
I mean, the Lions almost did last year. Anything's possible. There's always some sort of script in the NFL. But, hey, did you think a couple weeks ago that the Vikings were going to be in the position they're in now?
Yes.
You did.
Well, I mean, look at the schedule coming up. They had a rough start. It got easier. I didn't know we're going to lose Kirk Cousins, though.
Well, do you think they're going to make the playoffs now without Kirk Cousins?
We'll get to that. All right,
we're all optimistic over here.
Hey, quick question though, Nick. Is Gibbs the best running back in the division?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, David Montgomery looked pretty darn good, and he was on the Bears last year, and he was ripping it up earlier in the season for the Bears. But from a running back standpoint, I don't know. I mean, right now, sure, after this week, but I don't know. I really don't know who's the best at the moment. I wouldn't say Khalil Herbert is.
If he's
not a
healthy,
Viking.
it's Aaron Jones. If it's healthy, he's Aaron Jones. He just can't be healthy right now.
Dion, you agree with that?
You know, I don't hate saying Aaron Jones there. I'm not mad at that. Here, my thing is Jahmyr Gibbs. The run game to me still needs time, but I think what stuck out to me so much with Gibbs because you see his attributes, right? The speed, all those things. You may think of him as like a flashy back, but what always pops when you watch him is the physicality side of it. It's always that side of it, and you don't expect that when you look at his body type. I still think there's going to be time that comes along for him to really master the run game aspect of it. But the pass game impact, like Aaron Jones, it's what to me is going to be the separator as we go forward. So I'm not mad at you saying Aaron Jones, but we definitely got the best one too. No question about that.
Can I get in? Aaron Jones has 123 yards this year.
Because he's injured. He's injured.
Oh,
I mean, that's
okay. So he's good because he's injured.
No, I'm saying usually when he's healthy, and
so usually when he's healthy, but he's not the best right now.
If you're saying availability is the best ability, then yes.
I thought the question was in regards to right now because it's definitely
right
not
now.
Aaron
Yeah,
Jones
I mean
right
Aaron Jones. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. If you're saying right now, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs off 152 game. Yeah, I get it. But like in general, in terms of a running back that's the best in the NFC North, in terms of what they've done, you know, overall and what they can attribute to their team when healthy, yes, I think it's Aaron Jones.
I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to do it again, though, with the offensive line in the position that they're in, because I feel like your offensive line needs a huge rebuild right now.
Yeah, the run blocking offensive line is terrible. Like, a lot of people will hate on A.J. Dillon or hate on Aaron Jones when they go for a negative run, but, you know, they're getting hit in the backfield. So, you get, like, Harrison Phillips, like, destroyed us last week. So, I mean, the blocking's been terrible. But, you know, I think if you put Aaron Jones, a healthy Aaron Jones, and a good offensive line, yeah, that dude's really good. He's been very good.
Well, let us know.
Back on the Aaron Jones.
Let us know in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Is Aaron Jones still the top dog, or is Gibbs coming to take it? Y'all let us know in the chat. All right, Basaraki, since we were on you, what's your thoughts of that game for the Lions?
So, although I was just arguing for Aaron Jones, I do really like Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, I do. Like, like watching him, I was like, finally, they're giving this guy the rock, and that's obviously because Montgomery wasn't available, but honestly, I think that helped for them. But I do give credit to the Detroit Lions because, you know, they gave us destroyed us in that Thursday night football game. But I will say it's still just the Raiders. I mean, they just fired their head coach and the general manager. And I will say this, Devontae Adams, man, although you went there and that's kind of like your decision, that dude, I mean, he needs to be freed. He needs to be freed from that organization. And, the Lions are still at the top, and I do have to give them their credit, though.
Awesome. Lepagos, talk to us.
Yeah, I actually thought the Lions should have won this game by a lot more. They had the fumble there at the goal line, the horrible interception by Jared Goff. I mean, that was a bad Raiders team. You got Garoppolo overshooting guys. He looked god awful. So give him credit for finding a way to win that thing, but that really shouldn't have been close at all.
And Dion, talk to us about your big victory.
Man, look, here's the big thing. The big thing that stood out to me is the difference. I think you can go back a year on this, but it was really the ability to take away their outside receivers. Now, understand there were some opportunities in there. The first one I thought was a little bit difficult because, we were just bringing the house on him. So we were able to play a little more aggressive. He was able to get over top. But I think just in general, when you look at the production of that game, Adams had a drop. Their inability to get the outside receivers going in this game, which their offense is basically just built through playing through those guys. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me there. There's been a lot of ups and downs of people, how people have felt about Aaron Glenn. But I'll tell you what, I thought he played it. He absolutely came in with a great game plan for that game. And yeah, we definitely winning with 3 turnovers. In the past, maybe that's something we would do because of how much we would throw the football. That's not really who we are now. Well, at the same time, it never felt like the game to me was ever close. I'm gonna be honest. The game I've never felt worried during that game. We were moving the ball consistently. We just weren't punching the ball into the end zone because of some missed opportunities there. But honestly, it was a positive for me. I took away a lot of good.
Nice. All right. 2 games down. Now we have the big matchup in the division that went down. Before we do, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, make sure you hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Again, this is the beginning of something special. Show your love and support to the NFC North Roundtable. We are literally 25 subscribers away from 1,000 here on the first episode. Thank you all for your support. We're going to get there. Listen. Big matchup in the division. We know they don't like each other, but the Green Bay Packers versus the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, Green Bay takes the L. Before we get to Lepagos and Basaraki, let's start with Nick. What were your thoughts on the game?
Man, first of all, I hope Kirk Cousins gets better as soon as possible, because when he started going down, I was like, there is no way that he just had a non-contact injury. And when he came down, I was like, oh, man. So it was tough. I mean, I was entertained. It was an entertaining game. Every time the Vikings and the Packers play each other, it's always fun to watch. Like, there's never like a blowout, in my opinion. I mean, it happens, but it was fun to watch. You got to see the offenses, both in their own ways, do their own thing. I liked Kirk Cousins out there until he got hurt. And then obviously when you had to put in your 5th round rookie, that's when things got interesting. But I will say at the end, I don't know what Minnesota's head coach was doing, where you're up by 14 points and he's throwing the ball with a rookie. Yeah, I was screaming at the TV like, what are you doing? But at the same time, I've dealt with Matt Nagy and Luke Getsy the last couple of seasons doing plays like that all the time. So I was like, this seems pretty accurate. I'm probably going to see it later tonight. But overall, I mean, Minnesota's kind of shocked me this year. After, some of the departures they had over the season, some of the younger guys. I like what they're doing, though. I think that they played a very good game overall till the end. It was entertaining, though. And I hats off to the Vikings. Packers, Jordan Love had one big run. I mean, he had a few, but he had one big run that I was like, wow, maybe he's a running back like Justin Fields, because he looked better running the ball than passing the ball. So overall, an entertaining game.
Nice. Dion, talk to us.
Man, I mean, look, that's I'll say that I thought coming into it, the Vikings, I thought they would win this game. And I'll say this for Loves in this one, like, losing Kirk Cousins was massive. Obviously, he was coming off a ridiculously good game against San Francisco. And I think it was great for him to do it in prime, because that's always a narrative about him. To do that in prime time was excellent for him. So to his point as well, you look at the next 5 games, I'm like, man, they got a lot of winnable games. So I didn't even know that happened. I was driving, I see the news. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy, he's down for the year. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I think adding Josh Dobbs was big, by the way, just a little side note there. But I'm really with Nick on this one. Like, for Green Bay, I just haven't seen it there consistently with the offense. And really my issue with Jordan Love, it was weird, because I thought when we played the Green Bay Packers coming into it this year, watching Jordan Love play, I just felt like, okay, it just seems like timing's off a lot of times here. Like something's just a little off in the passing game. And then as the year continues, I still feel that way. I'm like, man, there's just something off here. Like, even the week before the touchdown that Love threw, it was like, oh, the corner, Pat Surtain's coming right back into play. You almost picked that thing off. It just feels like there's something off with that passing game. And then to Bass's point earlier, like, the run game hasn't been there. Like, I like AJ Dillon a lot, but the production's just not there. And when they finally seemed to get it going, it was like, well, I think it was against the Raiders where it seemed like they started to get something going. And it was like, okay, well, that makes sense why, Gibbs was able to do what he was able to do. So I just haven't felt great about the Packers offense all year. And now with the Vikings, this is the worst time for this to happen, because there are real winnable games in front of them.
Yeah, I want to ask you something. I'm curious. Like, do you feel now, being a clear division favorite with, us not having Kirk Cousins, you got the Packers with Jordan Love, you got the Bears with Tyson Bagent. Do you feel like if you guys didn't win the division, people are gonna be like, oh, well, look what you had to go against here. It was almost damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point.
Right. I'm gonna be honest, I don't care.
I'm sure you don't care, but that might be a narrative that might come up, right? Yeah,
hey, that could absolutely be the narrative. My thing is, we've had opportunities in the past where things like this have happened, not this exactly, but where things have been down in the division, we couldn't finish off the deal. So I'm still not counting like, hey, we finished the deal already. Like, no, it's still there. We still got to go close that, because I still see, even with Jaron Hall or Josh Dobbs, like, I think they can win these football games coming up. They are still a pretty solid team. So I still think there's winnable games there. But yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
I didn't think you would, but
I'll take it. There you go.
Yeah. Well, listen, let's move to the actual team that suffered a defeat. Talk to us, boss.
Man, I'll piggyback off of what Dion said with this offense just not looking correct and the pass game not really looking like it's there. Yeah, so the thing about it is, a lot of people will instantly just look at that box score, look at the stats, and be like, oh, Jordan Love, he isn't it. He's not the guy. But the thing is, like, this whole offense isn't executing. Like, this is the youngest, most inexperienced offense in the NFL. there's guys running into the same area on route concepts, on stick concepts, smash concepts, whatever it may be. They're running into the same areas. You have players dropping contested catch situations. The Packers are one of the worst teams in contested catch situations, I think near 20%. When you call it a 50-50 ball, you want to be around that 50% mark. I mean, we've Christian Watson 0 of 8 this year on contested catch situations. So although Jordan Love isn't perfect and he's made his mistakes, like no one is making a play for this guy. When you watch that post route to Jaden Reed, where the Minnesota Vikings player just basically stole it from him for an interception, like that's not on Jordan Love. That was a well-placed ball. It hit Jaden Reed directly in the hands. Ball got stolen from him. Then we have an interception. There's just a lot of mistakes on this football team as a whole. The one thing, the positive out of that game, their run defense. And I know Minnesota's run offense isn't that great, but I'm going to take my small victories as I can get them. But their run defense, man, shut them down. I think they had like 1.8 yards per carry. And, their run defense did really well, and I saw some great things from their front seven. But one of the bad things on the defense as well was their pass defense. It seemed like every third down, the Vikings had a guy wide open, and Kirk Cousins converted it. And again, hopefully Kirk Cousins, has a good recovery and all that. It was a shame to see that. I mean, I feel like there's just too many like Achilles injuries going on this year. It's crazy. But now we trade Rasul Douglas, and we have less of a pass defense. So we're going to see how that goes into the future. I mean, I'm happy we got a third-round pick for him, which we'll probably touch base on this a little bit more. But, man, this team's very young. It's very inexperienced, and you just got to let this year play out. Honestly, I think you give Jordan Love another year regardless how the rest of this year plays out. You have to see how it goes.
I hope you give him like 4 more years.
Wow. Well, listen, let's hear it, Lepagos. Tell us how you guys got it done.
Oh, the score 24-10, right? And it wasn't even that close. I mean, the Vikings really dominated this game from start to finish. You got your kicker missing kicks. Again, it's only 6 points, but that's why this thing isn't like a 3-score win, because Greg Joseph can't hit, easy field goals. I know one was blocked, but Boz made a great point. Like, we couldn't run the football, which I really thought this was the game the Vikings might get the run game going. Cam Akers has looked better than Alexander Madison, but KOC just loves playing Madison for whatever the reason is. I don't understand it. But things I loved about this game, the defense was flying all over the field. You got Josh Metellus. He's the one who took the play away from Jaden Reed. I still don't know how he intercepted that. I watched that replay about 7 times. I don't know how he ended up with that ball. Flores defense coming up big late when Jaron Hall had to come in. What Brian Flores has done with what he's had to work with is super impressive. This defense is now ranking right in the middle of the in the NFL as far as overall defense. He's got guys playing hard. Harrison Phillips was a force up front. And one of the things I really loved about this game, Jordan Addison absolutely schooling Jair Alexander. I mean, you've seen Justin Jefferson do it last year, and I know the second game, everybody's like, oh, Jerry got his revenge. Well, it was triple level coverage on that guy. So love seeing Jordan Addison do that. Again, obviously the big dark cloud over this victory, because we love beating the Packers. It makes us feel so good, especially me. I'm right on Minnesota-Wisconsin border. So like the local game, sometimes it's actually the Packers game. So it's a really big rivalry here. Anytime you can win at Lambeau, it's great. Fact, you lose your quarterback, and watching that thing live, you just saw it. Like, it just looked like Aaron Rodgers' injury, like right from the back, and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, I knew right away.
Yeah, you did. And it was horrible. And now you're seeing all these Vikings players like in the locker room, like, they're crying, they're in tears. They can't even talk about how much Kirk Cousins is actually loved. And yeah, I mean, that's the big negative here is losing your quarterback. But there was a lot of things to love again. And the biggest surprise I think I had on this one, like, I didn't have a lot of preconceived notions about Jordan Love going into this game. But man, I thought he was really bad. I mean, he's overshooting guys. He's undershooting guys. He can't hit an out route. And I think the Packers could have been in it if their quarterback could just throw a catchable ball every now and then. So I don't know, Bob. I know you said you want to give him one more year, and but I think for you guys too, this whole year is about finding out Jordan Love what he is.
Yeah, it's a building year. As many people, didn't want to see it as that. It is a building year. They have 2 second rounds next year, now 2 third rounds. They could potentially have a top 7 pick. So, it is a building year. We'll see what they do with Bakhtiari next year. They have some money going into next year. Like I said, very, very young team. But Jordan Love, like I said, he's not perfect. Like, yeah, he definitely misses some balls, and in terms of his accuracy deep down the field, it's not great. But in the same sense, like I said, players aren't making plays for him. That second drive, Aaron Jones drops a ball on the right sideline, then he throws a crosser, Luke Musgrave, and he drops it. So then the Packers goes 3 and out again. One of their first 4 drives that they went 3 and out. So he's really not getting any help either. I think it's just a collection of things.
So, Basaraki, with that being said, let's get your official take. If you had to make a decision, if you led the organization today, is Jordan Love your guy, or are you moving on?
You can't move on. I mean, you spent a first-round pick on him a few years ago, and he's been under Aaron Rodgers, and you kind of already like set your bed there, right, with Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. So you have to let this play out. If you were to going into week 9 and just straight up say, we're going to Sean Clifford, who, yeah, you drafted in the 5th round and whatnot, but you have to let this play out for at minimum this year. I would say next year as well, just to kind of let this thing develop, maybe go into free agency or go into the draft, get someone like Marvin Harrison Jr. or spice up your offensive line with someone like Alt from Notre Dame. You could do that, but right now he needs more players around him making plays, and that probably won't change until next year.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, Basaraki, but I'm going to make the question even more difficult for you. Here we are. The season is over. You only won 4 games, and somehow, miraculously, you lost more than the Bears. Somehow. But you get the number 1 overall pick. Do you keep those same sentiments?
I think it's really hard to say because it's your number 1 pick. It would be Caleb Williams, obviously, right? So what do? You either take Caleb Williams or you trade Drake May, I guess, yeah. But at this point, would Caleb Williams even want to be a Packer because he's wants stake in the team?
If he does,
he can't have that. He can't have stake in the team.
He's not getting stake.
Is that true? Was that confirmed that he actually said that?
He can go buy a $250 stock like that one right up there. There's his stake in the team.
Yeah, there you go. That's
if he wants to come to the Packers, man. It's hard to say. I mean, 4 and what is that? 4 and 13. And you have the first overall pick, and if you believe like Caleb Williams or Drake May is your guy, then you do it.
Interesting. I have to switch gears and take that same question for the Chicago Bears, Nick. But do you all have your first round pick?
Yeah, we have. We're currently the number 3.
No second rounders though.
You have 2 first. How many first rounders does the Bears have?
We have 1 second this year, Carolina's that we got, and that because we just traded ours to the Washington Commanders for Sweat, and then we have 2 first rounders, the 2nd and 3rd overall. The Cardinals currently own the number 1 overall pick at the moment. But I want to go back real quick to the conversation about who's your quarterback. Coming from a Bears fan, don't take a guy from North Carolina. That's all I'll say. The talent and college level at North Carolina, way different than what Caleb Williams has. I'm not even taking Caleb Williams, to be honest with you guys. I'm all about character and all that kind of stuff. And for a player in college to say I need to be part owner of a team when you haven't even played an NFL snap,
that definitely
I'm out on that.
Yeah.
I'm out on that.
So Nick, you got the number 1 pick right now, and the season is over. Here we are in the draft. Are you going Fields or are you taking a new quarterback?
So if Caleb Williams is the number 1 guy and I have the number 1 overall pick, I'm trading back with someone that wants Caleb Williams and wants to make that mistake. Get a haul again. Get a guy like I mean, think about it. We got DJ Moore, a first round pick last year and a first round pick this year. That could be the number 1 overall pick. So I would take my chances on that again because you have a guy in Justin Fields who has shown flashes. I mean, there's no denial that before he got hurt, he was showing flashes. Against the Vikings, he was not doing well at all. I'll fully say that, but he's shown flashes. I would go with him for 1 more year. He's on his rookie contract. But if you can go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr., you can go out and get the top offensive tackle to replace Braxton Jones. You can get a lot more picks that get you a center, get you a couple more defensive linemen. Overall, I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr. as my first pick, whether that's at 2 or 3.
Stay away.
But if I have the 1, I'm trading it away. What'd you say?
I said stay away.
No, it's going to be a competition where he's going to go. He's going to the north, but who?
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Well, I want to ask a question real quick as the chat hits the like button. Let's go ahead and get up to 150 likes, guys. We appreciate it. I want to ask a question about the leader of this division, the Detroit Lions. All right. I want to ask the entire panel. Do you think this version of the Lions, knowing that you know them better than any team in the league, can they really compete for a Super Bowl or let's say the NFC championship above teams like the Eagles, the 49ers, the Seahawks, who they lost to, the Cowboys, those type of teams?
The Vikings.
Vikings, why not? Talk to me. I want to go ahead and start with you. Bass, talk to us.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Do you think the Detroit Lions, they can actually contend for the entire NFC and win the actual conference against teams like the Eagles, 49ers, Seahawks, Cowboys, and even Vikings?
No. I'm from around the Philly area, and I do not like the Eagles, but I still respect them as a team, and I think they are a better team than the Lions. I love Dan Campbell as a head coach. Actually, I think he's building something great over there, but I think they're kind of still a little bit off of those top tier teams. So although them being 6-2, I still think they're off the top tier teams such as the 49ers and the Eagles.
Wow.
I want to jump in on this one. I'm like, Dion, I love you, man. Like I was just saying how much I love Dan Campbell and I love what they're doing. I still think they're a really young team. There's a lot of development that's going on there right now. I mean, look at the schedule. So yes, they beat the Chiefs opening night, but you also didn't have Jones that night. You still win that game by 1 point. You lose to the Seahawks. You crush the Falcons, but then you beat the Packers. You beat the Panthers. You beat the Bucks. Great. But then you get crushed by the Ravens. So out of all that competition out of the gate, the Ravens definitely were the toughest. And if the Chiefs were fully their team. So you're beating the teams that they're supposed to. The Lions are for sure doing that. I still think that they're a year of experience away from being a competitive team. They're right there. They've progressed insanely, but they're still too young. I think they'll make the playoffs this year for sure, but will they go far? I don't think so. But I like what they're building. I think they're building a good thing, but right now I don't think the Lions can do it right now.
Lupagos, talk to us.
I actually think they got a chance. I mean, this isn't just a team that's strong in one area. They got obviously an explosive offense, a very good defense. I love Aiden Hutchinson, everything he brings to the table. So I actually think this is a pretty complete team. And you know what happens in the playoffs? Anything can happen. So I think they got a shot. Obviously, on paper, yeah, Eagles are a better team. But I mean, hell, the Vikings beat the Niners. I'm not even concerned about. I know they got Chase Young, but I think the Lions actually, if they get in, if they made a run, I wouldn't be shocked.
Dion, talk to him.
Man, well, here's the thing. Here's why we talked about what we talked about at the beginning, and it lined up perfectly. This is why it starts winning the division. This is why it starts there, and it has to start there because the Lions at home can be a completely different team than what they're on the road, specifically offensively. So that's going to change everything. And honestly, to what Luff just said there, once you get into the playoffs, we know that anything can happen. Usually there are a lot of tight games. Now, I understand the Ravens thing. I personally feel like that game's a little bit different just because of the sense of, number one, they beat like every NFC team they play. So there's that aspect of it. But when I'm looking at the NFC side, we saw Philly last year to open the year. I understand it was a long time ago. Philly made a Super Bowl last season, and that game came down to the wire, and we were in a completely different stage last year than we were this year. I think when you look around the NFC, there's really not a team that I think stands out amongst anybody else, and I think we're going to see that this weekend when Dallas beats Philadelphia. I don't think there's a huge gap there in the NFC. I think San Francisco has proven that offensively, their inefficiencies, and I think when you look at the Lions, they have a lot of check marks, especially if they can play at home in that first playoff game to get it rolling. Because once you win at home, I mean, then everything opens up for a possibility, whether you're home or not. Everything's going to open up because they check all of the boxes that I think is necessary to at least be in those games to give themselves a chance. They have the quarterback, the offensive line can travel. And then, of course, what their defensive line has done this year. I mean, this is one of the top run defenses in football. And you look at that Baltimore Ravens game, they did a really good job. They had some breakdowns defensively with young guys and playing at different spots like Jack Campbell in that game. But as we go forward and you're not seeing teams that play that unique style, I just don't think that the NFC has that to offer. I think we can match up with most teams in the NFC because I don't think there's a ton of glaring holes within the Lions roster. I don't think at every spot you're saying, man, they're loaded, but there's not really any spots on the team you're saying they don't have pieces there. I think they have pieces across the board.
Wow. Hey, Dion, I just wanted to ask one quick question. Someone asked me in the chat, is Jared Goff better than Kirk Cousins?
I believe so. I believe he is. I believe Jared Goff is better than Kirk. I believe this is you can go to Lups if you want on this, because when I say this, I want to make this clear. I'm not saying this and putting Kirk Cousins down. I know, look, hey, I could say this and hate on Kirk. I like Kirk a lot. And I think it's very quick when you start watching him. You're like, yo, Kirk Cousins can play. Like, he gets what he's seeing. His efficiency of getting the ball out of his hands and everything seems to come back, because I don't believe in quarterbacks wins as a stat. All right. Everybody seems to believe that's a real thing. I don't believe that's a thing. And I think with Kirk, that's been something that's kind of been stuck with him. It's like, oh, hey, he's not winning these big games. He's not that guy. So I don't believe in that. It's kind of I feel that way because when we had Stafford, I never believed like, oh yeah, this guy can't play because we can't win. No, I don't believe that. But I do believe Jared Goff in this system, he was the perfect match for Ben Johnson. We don't throw outside the numbers very often. We play to his strengths. And in his role, I think he's top tier at what he does. And we have the pieces around him to play into that top tier role. You have the investments in what he does well. So I think Goff is absolutely the best quarterback in this division. And that's why I have confidence for years going forward, because he's under contract, because we don't have questions there.
Do you agree with that, Lepagos?
Well, he's the best quarterback now that Kirk Cousins is down and out for the year. But I mean, Cousins isn't going to make the throw that Goff did on Monday night, that interception. I can't remember who the hell got it, but that was a horrible read. Cousins isn't going to do that. I don't know what the guy has to do. Every year he puts up, 4,000 yards. He's an absolute baller. He brings this team back. Last year, our defense couldn't stop anybody. Cousins always rallying this team. He never gets any damn credit. All he does is give everything to this team. You watch the Netflix documentary, that quarterback, you see what he does every single week to prepare, what he puts his body through. The dude is just a machine. He's a great leader. He's the best quarterback in this division, and hell, he still is right now, even with one leg.
Bass, since you have an unbiased opinion on the matter, what is your take? Or is Jordan Love probably better than both of them? Just kidding.
God.
Yeah, man. Jordan Love. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think if you put Jordan Love in both the situations, we'll see. But to me, they're close. They're very close. Like I think both are very underrated. I think Jared Goff is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the NFL, and actually, I am actually pretty impressed by him. Same with Kirk Cousins. It's the thing about him, is the primetime games, and I do agree with Dose in terms of win-loss not being a quarterback stat. I mean, I had to fight that battle my entire childhood with Aaron Rodgers, is win-loss not being a quarterback stat. I mean, gosh, I had to fight that battle. To me, they're very, very close. I can't really. It's hard to say. I would probably give the edge to Jared Goff, honestly.
Ooh, interesting. Talk to me, Nick. What's your thoughts then?
Oh man, I see both because they both have kind of like a interesting background. Goff coming from LA. Then you said Matthew Stafford there. He wins a Super Bowl. Would Goff have done it? I don't know. But then Kirk Cousins comes over from Washington. He goes to Minnesota. Has he done anything crazy there? No, he hasn't. He hasn't led the Vikings to a Super Bowl or anything. I'm looking at the stats right now. I mean, they're super close in yardage right now. Touchdowns, Cousins does have more touchdowns. Interceptions, I believe they have the same, both at 5. And then you look at their quarterback rating. Goff's is, a little lower than Cousins. But if I'm going between the two guys, Achilles are both intact, healthy, good to go this upcoming weekend against their respected opponents. I'm going with Jared Goff too. Why? Because I think that Kirk Cousins has more established weapons. He has Hawkinson, he has Jefferson, he has, Addison. I like Jordan Addison, by the way. I really do. I think he's going to be a good player in this league. That's someone who I would love to have on my roster right now. But looking at Jared Goff, he goes to Detroit. No one has any, kind of like what you were saying about Cousins. Like, no one had his back. Everyone was kind of like, oh, it's Jared Goff. Like, we need to go get a quarterback in the next couple of years. And then in Detroit, he's winning games. He has a really good touchdown interception ratio. He's throwing more than 4,000 yards. I mean, as a Bears fan, I've never had that in my life, nor has anyone had that ever in their life. So, I mean, Jared Goff proved a lot of haters wrong. He's a silent successor, and I always like that. Kirk Cousins too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I respect the hell out of Kirk Cousins. I think that he is a good quarterback, and he was on range to have a good year. But Jared Goff, there's just that quietness to him, that quiet successor that I would rather have Jared Goff at this moment.
Wow, interesting. Lepagos, you outranked 3-1, man.
I guess so. I don't get it. I mean, you look at what Cousins had to go through. I mean, he had a coach, Mike Zimmer, who hated him, like would literally bad talk him in team meetings in front of everybody. Then he has horseshit old lines for half his season. He has crappy defenses. The dude has been the one thing that keeps this team competitive every single year, and he still isn't getting damn respect. People are 3-1 taking Jared Goff over Kirk Cousins. Come on, guys.
But go somewhere else. I mean, who knows? Like, I don't know. I think Jared Goff would be. I think honestly, if it wasn't the NFC roundtable, I think that Cousins would get more respect than Goff.
Really, you think
so?
But
from an NFC North standpoint, this is just me talking, guys. That's why I respect Goff more.
Wow. Interesting. But speaking of the quarterback position, I want to stay with Lepagos real quick because Kirk Cousins ain't there anymore. You all have Joshua Dobbs and company. Talk to us about that situation And two-parter here. Talk to us about the quarterback situation, and also Justin Jefferson potential return November 12th. Could you all threaten the Lions for the division still? And do you truly believe that's a possibility?
All right. So first of all, let's talk about Josh Dobbs. Everybody's assuming Josh Dobbs is coming here to be the starter. He probably will be that, but it's right now, Jaron Hall, this is his audition this Sunday against the Falcons. He has already been named the starter. If he plays all right, I don't see any reason why the Vikings are going to switch and just go to Josh Dobbs because he's a veteran. Overall, Josh Dobbs, does he excite me? Not really. But Nick Mullins, I also think like he's probably not as close to coming back as we initially thought. He's on IR. Somehow he got hurt being a backup, not doing anything. I don't know what the hell happened there. So Dobbs, he can run. He's smart. He beat the Cowboys. That was good, but he's Josh Dobbs. We didn't really give up a whole shit ton to get him, so I'm not really upset with the compensation, but don't rule out Jaron Hall. If he looks good, I think the Vikings are going to roll with Jaron Hall.
Interesting. And what about the playoff push versus the Lions? Do you think that's a real possibility with Jefferson coming back?
Here's the problem I have with the Vikings actually making a playoff push. You have either a young quarterback in Jaron Hall or this veteran in Josh Dobbs. To really be successful in that situation, you have to have a strong running game. We don't have that. We can't run the football. We couldn't run the football against the Packers, who give up 140 yards a game on the ground. We got like 60 on 30-something carries. Horrible. So you don't have that to support a young quarterback or a guy who's really not a guy who's going to lead you to victory in Josh Dobbs. That makes me nervous. I do like the way our defense is playing, but is it good enough to carry a team to get to the playoffs? I don't know. I'm thinking 8-9, 9-8 is the best we're going to be able to do this year.
8, 9, 9, and 8. Interesting. All right. Well, I want to switch gears and go to Green Bay real quick, and I want to hear about the trade of Rasul Douglas. What's your thoughts on that, and what are the Packers trying to do moving forward with that situation?
Well, I know first off, I know Dan's happy about this trade because he's getting a dog in Rasul Douglas.
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. So it's upsetting from a standpoint of loving him as a player. Like, this guy came in street free agent and just started balling out, right? Like, he made it play after play, especially that Arizona game 2 years ago, and I think it was the 6-0 Arizona Cardinals playing against us and make game-sealing interception. So him leaving, he's a leader, he has heart, that's going to hurt. But when I look at this trade, Rasul Douglas is a cornerback turning 29 years old on a losing football team that's the youngest in the league and are pretty much looks like they're rebuilding. So getting a third-round pick for him, I'm actually very happy about. I know the Packers had to give up a fifth round as well, but they're going to get compensatory picks. They got rid of Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Adrian Amos, Robert Tonyan, Jerron Reed, to name a few. So they're going to get that fifth back, if not more, from comp selection. So it was announced today that Brian Gutekunst wasn't actively shopping Rasul Douglas. It was more so the Bills calling and offering a offer he couldn't refuse. And I agree with that. I think you can't refuse a third-round pick for a 29-year-old quarterback or cornerback next year. Not to mention his salary cap hit was going to be $11.6 million, so the Packers are actually clearing about half of that for next season, and it'll give them more money to go into that. But it does worry me in terms of how this cornerback room is going to be for the rest of the year, because Jair hasn't been playing up to par with his injured back. Carrington Valentine, their 7th-round rookie out of Kentucky, looks like he will be the starter next to Jair, who he's been kind of struggling on and off when he's been put into the game this year. So we'll see how that goes. They also signed Robert Rochelle. Who knows if he could be the next Rasul Douglas? We never really know. But it does worry me because this pass defense wasn't like, oh, it's good, we can get rid of this guy and still be fine. So that really does worry me. But to me, couldn't pass up a third round.
Nice. Well, interesting to find out. A lot of teams making moves. Speaking of moves, I got to hear from Nick with the Chicago Bears. Jalen Johnson, he wants out. You didn't trade him. Talk to me your thoughts on that, and why Montez Sweat trade now?
So to start with the Jalen Johnson news, so during his press conference today, he actually came out and said he wanted to stay with the Chicago Bears, but there was too much of a gap between his contract expectations and the Bears' contract expectations. Then Ryan Poles went out and said, hey, actually, we met on Sunday night. We actually talked earlier today, too, that we're getting closer on a deal. So I'm happy that the Bears didn't move on him because Poles wants to keep this guy. He is having a career year right now. It's just that there's a lot of factors on why we're not going to give him top cornerback money. He's out for at least 2 games a year. That's been his consistency his entire career, and he's only 24 years old. But he's having a hell of a year so far. He's impactful. He's a team leader, and Poles himself wants to keep him, but Poles wants to build this team right and not have any bad contracts. So hopefully the two come to an agreement. I'm praying they do. And the worst comes to worst is that if they don't keep him, or if they don't come to a contract agreement, they're going to franchise tag him. Leads into your next question. Why Montez Sweat now? Two things I looked at in this situation. One, the Bears had 2 second-round picks, the one from Carolina and ours. You know, Washington was getting rid of Sweat. Sweat's been arguably, he has a 90.5 rush grade against defensive edges. It's the best in the NFL over the last 2 seasons. So he's a good player to bring in for what you're trading for a second round. The draft doesn't have a lot of wow edge rushers this upcoming season. So why not go get a guy that's established, entering the prime of his career, and can make an immediate impact on your team? And then on top of it, Poles came out and said today that he's already been working with Sweat's party on a contract extension, which is great news to hear. And why would a guy, and a lot of people are like, oh, Poles might be on the hot seat and Kevin Warren should be doing something, our new CEO. Why would Kevin Warren let a guy in Poles that he would be considering firing get rid of a second round pick when you're trying to build this young defensive line who is the best defensive line in football against the rush over the last couple of weeks? You know, we've let up 75 yards on average over the last 5 weeks against the rush. The rest of the league is over 200. So overall, we're doing after contact. So the move helps with the run game. It helps get pressure on the quarterback. It opens up the rest of the defensive line when we finally blitz the ball. So it's an overall move that impacts the future. But I really like the move by the Bears. I think that it was worth a second round pick. And he hasn't missed a game his entire career. So he's a consistent, reliable guy.
Wow. Did you see that he already said he wants to weigh his options?
I saw that, man.
Yeah,
That's such a Bears thing. If he
They
ends up leaving-
They left that part out that he's like, I'm going to let my party talk to whoever. But, you know, if you're his guy and if you're him and you hear that you get a 4-year contract extension that's worth big money, I don't think he's going to want to weigh his options anymore. His party is going to push him to sign it. So, I mean, the Bears are in a great position draft capital wise, cap wise for signing players, and they can bring in a lot of good teams or a lot of good other players. So I'm pretty pumped about the trade. I see what you're saying though. Like, I saw that comment and I was like, but then Poles came out and was like, I'm already talking to him. I was like, all right, you made me feel a little better.
I'm curious though, how did you feel about Chase Young going to the Niners for a third? Were you like, oh,
terrible, man?
Well, they didn't release his medical record. The Commanders did not release his medical records to the Bears when the Bears were talking to them. So that's why they went with Sweat over Young. And if a team's not releasing medical records, I don't know if you guys remember, but when we went against Larry Ogunjobi last season and Poles didn't do his homework, then he goes to team doctors and the doctors are like, oh, snap, do not sign this guy. And you have to have that conversation. That was a young GM learning, and he didn't want to take that risk, especially on a guy who tore his ACL. So that's why I'm pretty happy that we didn't get him. And San Francisco giving up a third when they still have a short, very small gap to win. And he could walk after next season too. I was pretty excited about it.
Wow. Well, it looks like the NFC North. I don't know if you all knew this, but you all made just about the most moves as a division than anyone. Minnesota, you know, bringing in Dobbs, the Green Bay Packers shipping off Rasul.
And we never trade.
Chicago Bears, you know, Montrell Sweat. And then we got to talk about the Detroit Lions bringing in Donovan Peoples-Jones. What are your thoughts on that, Dion? And I want to get your thoughts as well on your rookie tight end breaking out too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, let's start with the rookie tight end. I mean, I think we need to start there. I think this was kind of I think what was being talked about when we were talking about are they contenders, that kind of thing. And they're a very young team on paper. So I understood where you guys were coming from with that. But I also think that's the reason that they're in this spot right now is how fast this process has been. The Lions haven't followed. I wouldn't say other teams' process, but I would say what I've seen in the past as a Lions fan. I've seen the off seasons where the Lions would splurge, go spend big money, and then a couple years later, we're looking at like, hold up, we just fired the coach. That guy's got to go now. So then we're resetting again. The Lions have followed a whole different path up to this point. We're signing basically just all prove-it deals. We'll give out a couple multi-year deals, and then we're going to draft players. And they have truly stuck to that plan of like, yo, we're going to draft guys. And because they've been able to get such immediate production, like Sam Laporta, like their top 4 draft picks this year, where honestly, you can look at this team, both sides of the ball, and say their best players are rookies for a lot of spots. And I think that's where Sam Laporta falls into this. Laporta, to me, what I thought about him was I didn't see maybe the blocker that TJ Hawkinson was coming out, but I thought he was more of a pure pass catching. He feels like a today kind of tight end in that sense. Now, I'll give him credit because he's shown the run blocking ability, but he felt more pure in that sense. And also what we were going to have to pay for Hawkinson, I don't think lined up for what, how they're trying to build this team, where that money is ultimately going to go. So I think it just made sense to get more of a pure route runner. And that's what he's added to this team. He's added the pure pass catching ability. And honestly, with Jared Goff, one thing that's always been has been, hey, man, how fast can you build that trust? And we're seeing that. Like, it's still coming along with certain guys. In training camp, this dude was lighting it up. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So that's been, to me, what's made this proud. That's why we're 6-2. It's the young guys where they've gotten to so quickly. With Donovan Peoples-Jones, I honestly kind of think it's like Nick's deal. Like, when Nick did the deal, I know we were all live doing the trade deadline. And I was like, look, they have the cap space that felt like a future move, right? I understand that it's right now they did it, but it's a future move because they're going to extend that guy. To me, there's no question that guy's coming back on a multi-year deal. They're getting that thing done. That's why they gave up such a hefty pick for it. And I think that's where Peoples-Jones could have a real value. I mean, there's always a sense of you want depth, because if the Lions, for whatever reason, didn't have Josh Reynolds in the game, we basically have no one on the outside. I mean, we have Jamison Williams, who's had drops this year. That's who you have on the outside. So for the Lions, they get depth, but they also have a potential future piece. And I think what's the best thing about it to me is that we've avoided what usually happens in free agency. Everybody here knows this. When free agents come available, there's usually a few reasons why free agents available. Number one, they just haven't shown it. They haven't proven it. They're available. Maybe he was a high draft pick, and it's just like, I don't know, maybe take a shot on that guy, so you give him a prove a deal. Or the guy has a ton of injuries. So you're like, hey, man, he's been good, but he's hurt. We can give him a shot. Or he's getting older. That's a lot of times where you see the free agents go. And I think for Peoples-Jones, what makes him unique is he's kind of like giving out a prove it deal, but he's also not falling into that category because he's already been productive. He's not available because of a ton of injuries. He's kind of a little bit different in that sense. So it, to me, falls into a lot of what the free agent signings has been. Cheap, kind of a prove it, but he also gives us what I think the offense was missing. And he's just a specific piece. He's not going to light up the stat sheet, but he'll have certain games where we'll have 3 big receptions and he'll give us the depth that we need. But he could ultimately be around for the future, which is the key there for me.
Awesome. Wow. Listen, before we move on to next week's games, because I want to get all of your thoughts on those games coming up, we want everybody watching to know that this stream is being brought to you by Sleeper, ladies and gentlemen. Check out the Sleeper app. The link is in the description of the video. Supporting the sponsors is supporting the channel. Proceeds would help out this channel to help it grow bigger and better. So make sure you use code NFC North on Sleeper for a 100% deposit match up to $100, ladies and gentlemen. Again, download the Sleeper app and make sure you use code NFC North to take advantage of the opportunity to help the channel out, and they're matching your first deposit. Now, with that being said, guys, if you could help me out real quick, I want to see if you guys could help me. I know that the Lions are actually on a bye right now, so let me pull this up real quick. Let me pull this up. I'm going to get your takes on this. I want your help making a 6-player one. We want to start with the Minnesota Vikings, all right? I want to go with a few players I'm going to pick, and I want to see your professional analysis. Jay Addison, does he score a touchdown this week versus the Atlanta Falcons? Lupagos, what's your thoughts?
And I know Jaron Hall's this quarterback this week, but it doesn't matter. Jay Addy always finds the end zone. I think he's done it like 4 games straight. Hell yeah, he's going to score.
Wow. Okay, nice. All right, what about Hawkinson? Do you see him getting in the end zone?
I don't know about the end zone, but if there's any yardage lines, I'd take those. I think, when you have a young quarterback who's his best friend, it's the tight end. I think Hawkinson and Jaron Hall will connect quite a bit because I think Hall's going to be under pressure. Look for that safety net in TJ Hawkinson.
And I'm going to give you one more option on that. Akers. Okay?
No.
Do you think that he rushes over 28.5 yards?
It's so hard. Here's the problem with Akers. He's the better back. I don't think there's any question. Anybody who's watched the Vikings, 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever, Cam Akers is the better back. But for whatever reason, we just keep feeding Alexander Madison over and over and over again. He's got no vision. 28.5. I don't think I touched that.
Well, we could do Madison if you want, but
I wouldn't take any running backs going over or higher. No way.
So we're gonna go with Madison under then, since you wouldn't take him
Do it.
higher. Okay.
I won't.
All right.
I won't do it.
Nice. Well, let's move over to the Green Bay Packers. Talk to us, Bass, about Jordan Love. Interceptions, passing yards over 218, or 2 touchdowns or more.
I don't see him throwing 2 touchdowns. I mean, if you look at the last 4 games, I think you'd be better off selecting an interception. I think you'd be better off selecting an
I agree.
interception. Like, I mean, it's not even his fault.
At least he's honest.
No.
Dion,
Last week,
you
the
gonna laugh
interception,
at him?
man, last week wasn't his fault. Like, it went right into Jaden Reed's hands. Like, dude should have caught it. Like, that was not Jordan Love's interception. Now, weeks before that, yes, he has thrown some pretty terrible balls. He had a couple really bad ones against the Lions. But in terms of that prop, I would just say getting an interception is a better chance than getting two passing touchdowns. That's just my opinion. And Aaron Jones, he's not getting a rushing touchdown because for some reason they decided to put A.J. Dillon on the goal line every single time, no matter what. So take Aaron Jones off the touchdown. Unless it's a 40-yard touchdown, he ain't getting one.
All right.
They're not doing it.
Well, I'm going to take him off. But let's go to Chicago. Let's go to Chicago real quick. Bagent. Is it Bagent? Bagent. Excuse me. Bagent. Talk to me. Do you like him throwing for a touchdown versus New Orleans, or 190 passing yards, an interception? What's your thoughts?
So he has progressed every week in the passing yard percentage. He was over 230 last week, but I'm not doing that against the Saints defense, who are ranked top 10 across the board. You know what? If we're being honest from a Green Bay standpoint, I'll be honest from Chicago. I would take the over half interception for sure.
There we go.
Wow.
That's what I did last week because I book it. He's throwing a pick.
And I did too. And I was like, hey, free money.
All right. Well, talk to me about let's go with the running back Foreman. Do you see him getting in the end zone or at least rushing for 42 or more yards?
Ooh, tough. Okay, so the Saints have the 17th ranked rush defense from a yardage perspective. Yes, I'm going to go over 41.5.
Okay, 41.5. Listen here, ladies and gentlemen, those 6 picks on Sleeper with the $10 bet would win $394. We're going to put that in, and if it hits, we're going to do a lucky giveaway here on the NFC North Roundtable. A nice giveaway worth up to $394. So there you have it. Your experts have spoken. Download the Sleeper app. Use code NFC North so that you can support the channel and get in the games yourself. If you feel you have better picks, download the app and make those picks. Thank you all so much. All right, guys. Well, listen, I think it's that time to go into what matters most, the future, instead of looking in the past, looking behind. Let's talk about the matchups coming up. I know we're running out of time, so we'll try to do this as fast as we can. Let's start out with the Chicago Bears playing the Saints this week. What are your thoughts in that game? And give me a score prediction, Nick.
Saints are 4-4, kind of like what the Raiders were. They were 500 when they came to Chicago. Tyson Bagent, third week with the starters, working with practice. Montez Sweat comes in. Jalen Johnson will be playing. He's going to want to prove he's worth the money. I don't know. I'm feeling good about this game for some reason, like I do every single week, and people call me nuts about it. But I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I got the Bears winning 24-17 in New Orleans.
Do you agree, Bass?
No. No.
What's your score prediction and thoughts on this game? What you think is going to happen?
I just don't think the Bears are a good team, so I just won't pick them against the Saints. Like Derek Carr, I feel like is he does enough. Taysom Hill's starting to get rolling in that and whatever the hell they use him in. Chris Olave, nice receiver, but overall, I just don't see the Bears winning. I don't bet on them, and I think they'll still end 4th in the division. So that's just, if I'm betting on them, it's not them.
4th in the division. Oh man, Lupagos, what's your thoughts on this game?
It's going to be gross. It's going to be ugly. It's not going to be anything you're going to watch. I think it's going to be low scoring. Saints got a good defense. They love throwing the ball to Elvin Kamara over and over and over. That is their offense. So the Bears can shut down Kamara. They maybe got a chance. But no, I think the Saints win this one. Like I said, it's going to be gross. I'll go 16-10 Saints.
16. Low score. Wow. Dion, talk to us.
Man, I hate to do this. I'm taking the Saints as well. I hate to do this, man. He was so optimistic, and then we're just all like, but yeah, I got to take the Saints, man. I don't trust Chicago's back in. That's my concern in this one. I think they open it up. I got Saints put up a lot of points.
Wow, they don't have your back, Nick. Sorry, bro.
That's fine. We'll check in next Wednesday.
Ooh, okay. All right. Now
We will.
let's move forward to Green Bay plays the Rams this week. Talk to us, Bass. What is your thoughts on this game and who's going to win and what's the score?
All right. So this is very dependent on their quarterback situation. It's going to be Brett Rippon or Matt Stafford. So he didn't practice today with that, I think, UC joint. Was there a thumb injury or something like that sort? So it's very dependent on this. Like if Matt Stafford plays, like the Rams are winning this game. Like the Rams are winning this game. But Brett Rippon, like the horrible thing is with them trading Rasul Douglas and having this who knows defensive backfield next week, they very well, like Brent Rippon could come out here and dot us up. Like it very well could happen. I feel like that would be the thing to happen for us Packers fans this year. But all things considered, if Brett Rippon's playing, I think the Packers do win 24-17. But if it's Stafford, I think they lose 31-24.
Wow, awesome. All right, well, we're going to go to Galapagos. Before we do, I want to answer a question from Frozen North. Said, this show happening weekly? Yes, each week on Wednesday at 6:15 p.m. as of right now. If that changes, we will keep you informed. This is, like we said at the beginning of something special. All right, talk to us, Galapagos. What do you think about this Green Bay game?
Yeah, this one's at Green Bay, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Green Bay's not a very good team right now, right? And they've lost 4 in a row, 3 in a row.
Yeah, 4 in a row.
It has to end at some point. And I mean, you made a great point. If it's Brett Rippon, the Packers have a real shot in this one. If it's Matt Stafford, I don't think so. I'm not a big Rams fan. Something just seems off with that team ever since they won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'm going to go the Rams. I think it might be actually closer than people think. I'm going to say 24-20. Rams squeak this one out.
Wow, tight one. Talk to us, Nick. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning toward the Rams, and it's not because of the answer that everyone gave. I'm just putting that out there. I'm not being biased or anything, but I think that, the way Jordan Love has been playing, it's tough to see. He's still developing. The Rams do have a veteran defense out there. I think that they have the edge. And it really does depend on who plays quarterback for the Rams. If Matthew Stafford's in, yeah, the Rams are for sure winning. I think it's going to be a larger margin of score. If they go with their backup, I still think that the Rams have the edge. But I think that Green Bay, if they use their running backs correctly, if they use Christian Watson correctly, it's going to be a closer game. But I'm going Rams 27. I'm going Green Bay 17.
Wow. Dion, talk to us.
Come on, Dion.
You know what we'd love in this game? Because I think there's an opportunity here for Green Bay. I think there's an opportunity. I want some creativity, man. I think you pull some tricks out of the bag. If you're Matt LaFleur, you bring something to the table. This is the team to do it against. All right, some of these guys I feel like have been outperforming. They got young talent over there. But at the same time, they got a lot of like, what the heck was that? Where you got dudes running into each other. You got guys lost. As aggressive as they are upfield, and Aaron Donald's a game changer. This is the game where you get something going with Jordan Love. This is where like, hey, hold up. We got something going here. Don't count him out yet. But if Stafford plays, I'm taking the Rams.
That's fair.
Wow.
That's fair.
All right. Well, there you have it. All right. Listen, let's move forward to the Minnesota Vikings. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. Galapagos, what do you got in this game?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Vikings on the road, rookie quarterback, 5th rounder. It's all about Jaron Hall in this one. What can he do? What can KOC work to make him effective in the passing game? We can't run the football. And that, to me, is one of the biggest hangups in this thing. I don't care if it's a 32nd ranked defense. We're going to get 2.5 yards per carry. That's what we do this year. It's who we are. The Vikings play clean. I think they can keep this one close, but I think Hall is going to end up having some turnover, whether it's early or late. That's going to probably swing this thing in favor of the Falcons. I'd love to go with my purple. But I think losing Kirk Cousins is going to be a real momentum killer for the Vikings, rookie quarterback. I know, and I really do believe that he's debuting and then trying here to be the quarterback moving forward. It's not automatically going to be Josh Dobbs' game. If Hall shows something, they'll stick with him. But and I think Flores' defense, the other thing too, it's Heineke playing this week. It's not Desmond Ridder. If it was Desmond Ridder, I think Flores could work up some magic, get him confused, have some costly turnovers for the Falcons. Heineke, he's not great, but he's a veteran. And he's a game or two. The kid's got ice in his piss. He will sling that thing all over. He might catch Flores on a blitz once or every now and then. Love overshot us. One thing that gives me a little more hope, though, Drake London didn't practice today, so maybe he's going to be out in this one. But overall, I think the Falcons probably squeak out a win here.
Interesting. What about you, Nick? What's your thoughts on the game?
It's funny. I'm actually going with the Vikings in this game. I think that they're going to play a little bit harder. And also, Ryan Pace is still with the Falcons. I can never forgive that guy for what he did to this team for such a long time. Take away 2018. But overall, I mean, like, yeah, you bring in Dobbs, but, you know, you have a young, hungry rookie that wants, like Lups was saying, is he wants to go out there and win the game and win the job. And they're going to play this game for Kirk. That's what they're going to do. That these guys have a lot of energy. Like you were saying, the locker room was devastated, and that's probably going to be the main message is win this one for Kirk. And I think that Atlanta is just not a prepared enough football team. They're just a little bit all over the place. I got the Vikings winning big in this one. I don't think Atlanta's going to put up more than 10 points. I think that, Atlanta's not going to put up more than 10 points. And I think Minnesota's probably going to go 21 plus. So I'm feeling good for the Vikings this week.
We don't usually win big, so I appreciate that. Unless we're playing the Packers.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Packers, Bass, what's your thoughts of this game?
I'm a Taylor Heineke truther. I think this is a perfect move for the Atlanta Falcons. Like, I really like Lup said, if Ritter was playing, I think I choose the Vikings. But I like Taylor Heineke. I think they're going to ride on Bijan Robinson. And then with the Vikings side, you know, Jaron Hall, the little bit we saw him against Green Bay, like, he looked scared against the Packers defense. And that's saying something because, like, the Packers defense makes no one look scared. So he looks scared there. I think they're going to try to lean on their running game, which is non-existent. And they're going to get a few 3-and-outs to start. It's going to be rough to start. I think the Falcons are going to score early and run away with that type of thing. So I got ATL 20, Minnesota 10.
Oh, wow. Dion, what's your thoughts on it?
Man, I'm with you guys in a lot of ways here. I think on paper, there's a lot of things I like about Minnesota in this one. And I had actually, like, you know, I write the matchups down. I give circles. I circled Minnesota first. I went with them first, but then I pulled back and took Atlanta, honestly, because of the Taylor Heineke situation. I'm like, yo, if Heineke's playing, I kind of like Atlanta in this one. I'm worried about Desmond Ritter every time he's out there. It's just like, yeah, there's some good. And then there's a lot of what happened there. I think Heineke kind of settles things offensively, but I do think a lot of things work for Minnesota in this matchup. I'm just leaning a little bit more. Here's the thing, this is what I said earlier today. If Josh Dobbs was playing this week, I would take Minnesota for sure. But because I think it's Jaron Hall, I don't think this is the best situation as a first game.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Well, 3 games in, 1 to go. The very last game in the division for the week is going to be a good one. The Lions versus the Chargers. Dion, we'll save you for last. Talk to us, Nick. What's your thoughts on this game?
Well, I just got to see the Chargers and what the Chargers can do, but you got to remember it's the Bears secondary going against Justin Herbert. You know, I think that the Lions, is it at home or is it away for the Lions?
That one's going to be on the road, I believe.
On the road.
So it's in LA. And we all know that really it's going to be dominated by Lions fans anyway, because no one's really a Chargers fans out in LA. So, I mean, honestly, I think that what's going to happen is Jared Goff, you know, he's going to be back in California. I think he's going to have a good game. There's not much to say this one. I think the Lions are going to win this game against the Chargers. A much different team than the Bears, much different defense. They're going to come out. They're going to win big. I don't even know what the score is going to be. But overall, I'm feeling good about the Lions in that one. Wow.
Talk to us, Bass.
I got the Lions as well. You know, the Chargers have such a good roster, in my opinion. I just feel like they can never really put it all together. Lions are going to be coming off this bye week, so I feel like they're a team that will have a good game plan going into this game. And just like Nick said, I mean, they'll probably will have home field advantage over there in LA. So, like I said, I believe in Jared Goff. I really like him. If they keep feeding Jahmyr Gibbs like they did last week, yeah, I think they easily win this game. I have them 27-24.
Nice. Lupagos.
Yeah, well, Boz said it. I mean, the Chargers have a great roster, but there's something off, and it's their head coach. He makes boneheaded decisions. He does it every single game. He should have blew the thing against the Vikings. TJ Hawkinson drops the game-winning touchdown late in that one. So I think that's going to be the difference. I think this game should be high scoring. Both these offenses got so many damn weapons. But Staley's going to do something stupid, and it's going to cost him the game. And I think the Lions probably end up winning this thing by, I'm going to say 10.
10. Awesome. All right, Dion, tell us why you're going to win or lose. I don't know what you're thinking.
You know what I'm thinking, TD. You know what I'm thinking. Here's the thing. You know what'd be great about this? If we went back to like last year, this would be the battle of head coaches going forward on 4th down. Okay, this would be the most aggressive you ever see football game you've ever seen in your life. But it's changed a little bit recently. So yeah, I got the Lions coming off the bye week. Of course, it is going to be tricky. It always feels like it's tricky when you have to travel like that, play a 4 o'clock start. It's all weird. But I think there's just matchups I like here. All right. And just matchups that Brian Branch and Keenan Allen, who's been their top offensive weapon. Branch is probably our best cornerback on the team. I like that matchup. I flip it around. Don't love the secondary for the Chargers. And I like what we have going in the pass game. So I think with all that, like you guys touched, I think we can put up a lot of points in this game and make it kind of weird for the Chargers. So yeah, Lions big.
Lions big. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Detroit Lions have their battle. Bears going to war. Vikings trying to survive. And the Green Bay Packers trying to figure out their quarterback situation and evaluate it. Last but not least, could Jordan Love be benched by Sean Clifford? I was hearing something about that, Bass. Is that just rumor?
Yeah, nah, that's no chance. I know I have one of my viewers in the chat that is a Sean Clifford truther, so he's gonna be in the chat saying yes 100%. But not gonna happen, no. Like that's unless Jordan Love gets injured, that's not gonna happen.
All right. Well, since we're running out of time, one name answers, okay? Play a quick game, one name answer. All right, no explanation. All right. Starting quarterbacks: Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Justin Fields, and Jordan Love. Who is the worst quarterback in the division? We'll start with Dion.
Jordan Love.
Lepagos.
Jordan Love.
Bass.
It's Fields, man. Come on.
And Nick.
Do I have to say my answer for real?
Jordan Love. Wow. All right. Well,
just say major.
Well, we have someone.
That wasn't an option.
You put Josh Dobbs in there, and I'm still saying Love.
It was not an option. Well, Bass, it looks like we know what we're opening the show with next week because they just said something that you totally disagree with. So I want to get your explanation on that next week. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, this was your first official episode of the NFC North Roundtable. Man, that was a blast. I got to know a lot more about the team. We hope that you did as well. Any last words, gentlemen, starting with Nick before we get out of here?
I can't wait for next Wednesday to talk about the Bears beating the Saints.
And what about you, Bass?
Man, I'm just hoping Jordan Love puts out a little bit of something so we can restart that talk about the worst quarterback in the North because it's not Love, it's Fields. It's Fields. I mean, well, sorry, he would be the worst running back in the North. My bad.
Ooh, shots thrown. All right, well, Lepagos, final words.
Hey, I'm just praying Jaron Hall can show us something, and if he can, then maybe we still have a shot to at least sneak into the playoffs. I'm not gonna say we can get to the division, but sneak into the playoffs.
All right, and Dion, since you're at the top of the mountain, what's your last words, brother?
Hey, honestly, Nick called Justin Fields a running back. He already said that early in the show. He already put that out there. So, but no, man. Hey, I'll say this: what I'm so pumped up about this show is the future of it in terms of as we get to kind of the stages of like getting into the offseason playoffs, those things. I think that's when all the excitement comes. So to have a group is going to be a whole different aspect. And I think everybody in the chat, we see y'all in here. Appreciate you guys joining, and I'm just fired up for that.
All right, and on behalf of the Roundtable Sports company, we want to thank you gentlemen, for being the first part of our expansion. You did an excellent job on episode 1. Listen, the beginning of something special. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, peace. We are out.